Welcome to Should My Shop Be Online? eCommerce 101. This is Linda Fitzgerald. I'm an advisor for the SBDC. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad you're here. This is the Shasta-Cascade Small Business Development Center. We're a nonprofit organization, and we provide confidential, no-cost advisory and training services to small businesses. And we are funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration and HSU. Today, I would like to introduce to you Megan Spaulding. Megan, thanks so much for joining and presenting for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So I guess I'll just take it from here.
That sounds great.
All right. Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Megan Spaulding, as she said, and I am an e-commerce specialist. The bulk of what I do is in the e-commerce world. So I've helped a variety of different businesses take their business from in-person to online. So everything from mom and pop shops to handmade products to full-scale boutiques and even car part resellers. And so I started, and as well as helping other businesses get online, I also own my own e-commerce store that was launched in 2017 and is still thriving today. So I have a full gamut of experience when it comes to things e-commerce. So tonight, what we're going to really be talking about is, first off, what is e-commerce and really understanding that. Second, why should we be paying attention to e-commerce? Third, how do we know if e-commerce is right for your business? And then we'll also be getting into the caveats of e-commerce, and as well as the initial steps to be able to take your in-store company to an online space. So by the end of this course, my goal is that you will have a clear understanding of what exactly e-commerce is, and that you'll be able to make an educated decision on whether or not moving to an e-commerce platform or potentially adding an e-commerce platform to your existing business is the right business for your company. And you'll also walk away with action items on how to begin taking your shop online. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started. So what is e-commerce? That's eCommerce 101, what is it? So Webster Merriam Dictionary defines it as commerce conducted via the internet. More simply put, we can say the purchasing of products and or services online. So for the most part, at least me, I think of e-commerce as product-based, but really e-commerce is absolutely anything that you're buying and selling online, just the commerce that exists on the internet. But for today's purposes, we're really going to focus specifically on those product-based businesses and what it would look like to take them online and if it's the right move for your company. So there's a myriad of e-commerce platforms out there. We have things like marketplaces. So those are your places like eBay, Etsy, Amazon, Facebook marketplaces. These are places that almost do a lot of marketing for you. A lot of them are search engine based, so people will be able to search for your products and find them that way. They already have a ton of traffic on them, and so you know there's different things that you leverage. They also take a cut because they are providing you a space to put your products, and they are providing you a ton more traffic than you might have otherwise. We also have social media. So if you guys have been listening, keeping an ear to the ground on all things Facebook. Facebook has recently launched Facebook Shops. So now you can actually have an e-commerce store within your actual Facebook page. And this is kind of like the space in between marketplaces and your own website, e-commerce website, in that, you know, the social media spaces exist. They have people already visiting these sites, but as far as traffic goes, you're still doing a lot of the heavy lifting and getting people over to those pages. And then lastly, you have your websites. So these are the e-commerce providers. The big dogs are people like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and Squarespace. And this is your very own branded website that you get to control the look, feel, and all of that that you can house your products on. So that's kind of the basics of what e-commerce is. So e-commerce is, again, buying and selling online, whether it's a product or service, and then it's using one of these, primarily it's done, especially in the product-based world, by using one of these available available resources, whether it's posting your products on a marketplace or using an individual sales platform, or anywhere in between and beyond. So why should we be paying attention to e-commerce? Here are some statistics that I just want to run through. So this year alone, e-commerce sales are expected to make up 15.5% of retail sales, and next year it's expected to make up to 17.5% of retail sales. So e-commerce is a rather large chunk of a multi-trillion-dollar pie, but it's also continuing to grow, and it's growing year over year. It's growing more and more and just taking more and more of that pie, and it's still relatively on the baby side of things. You know, things are just starting to heat up and get more and more with up to 80% of internet users shopping online, and that number in and of itself growing each year. So one thing to note as well is that 87% of shoppers now begin product searches online. And so this is the first place that shoppers are going to check something out and decide if they want to buy a particular product. They're going online, they're doing their research, and so you certainly want to be in this space where they're going first. So here are some benefits. First off, the most obvious possibly is that customers can shop 24/7. Not only that, but this is one of the main reasons that customers report wanting to shop online rather than going in store, is this flexibility with time and the fact that they can shop whenever they want, however they want, wherever they want, wearing whatever they want. The other thing with e-commerce is that you're not bound by location. So with your brick and mortar store, you're pretty much bound by foot traffic, maybe some tourism if you're in a tourism area. But for the most part, it's foot traffic from the locals. You're serving the same people. You might have some repeat customers that are really loyal and coming in all the time, but that's about all you have access to is your area and different people coming into your area. Whereas e-commerce, you can ship literally worldwide if you want to. The other piece with e-commerce, and it's really closely tied into this fact that you're not bound by location, is that you can gain new customers. So it opens you up to people who ordinarily wouldn't have access to your brick and mortar store. Another benefit of it is that there's a low overhead and minimal investment. So getting on e-commerce, especially if you already have a store, if you already have a storefront, most of your overhead is already spent. Most of your inventory is already bought. And so getting online is a very minimal investment and a very low overhead. The other thing is that it's really quick. It's easy to get your store online. You can get it online within a week if you really, really want to, within a month. It just doesn't have quite all the red tape that opening a physical place would have. The other thing that I like to really point out too is how much you can streamline with e-commerce. So not only one is your e-commerce platform kind of taking the place of that sales rep that you might have in your actual store, and it's automating that process so that you no longer have to have someone at checkout. But there's also a ton of other things that you can really automate. So things like sending like abandoned cart emails to really automate your sales. So on e-commerce, you can actually capture when people are adding stuff to your cart, starting the checkout process, and then leaving. On many platforms, you can then retarget them, send them those, and I'm sure you've gotten them before, those emails that say, hey, are you forgetting something? There's something left in your cart. So that's something you can automate a lot of marketing with e-commerce platform, as well as you can go all the way to automating your fulfillment. And so with things like Amazon FBA, if you were to go in the marketplace route, where you can actually take your product ship it to Amazon and they deal with everything for you. Or even if you have your own website, there's companies out there that exist to just fulfill for you, and you don't even have to worry about it. You just ship your product with them. So depending on your model and your particular business and what makes sense for your business, you could just have the sales automated all the way through to fulfillment, if that makes sense for your model. Another piece that goes especially in with the marketing is the customer data insights that you have that you don't ordinarily have with your customers shopping in store. So things, for example, if you've ever seen like the search bar on a retailer's website, and you can go and search in, hey, do they have this product? When you're on the back end of that as an e-commerce platform owner, you can actually go in and see, hey, what are people searching? And begin to understand what your customer is looking for, what they're looking, what they want. Like say you sell pet products, right? And someone's always searching dog bones, but you don't carry dog bones. All of a sudden you have this rich data that says, hey, my customers really want dog bones. Look, they search for it 5 times a day. I need to go stock some dog bones. Not only that, you have information on how many people are visiting your site, how long they're staying on your site, where they're going, what they're buying. They're just the amount of analytics that you can take and use to educate your buying decisions is literally unlimited. And there's just a couple of more things I want to hit on of these benefits before we get into kind of the more nitty gritty. And one would be your product education abilities. So this is really quite standout for e-commerce, especially for people who have products that aren't intrinsically understood how exactly they work or what exactly they do. For example, maybe you sell workout equipment. And so you can imagine going onto a website and being able to see a video of exactly how that workout product is used. Whereas if you're in a store, it's harder to convey that. You might have that machine just sitting out, but to really understand the benefits and be able to understand exactly how you use it, the online space really opens you up for that. You can really educate them on just such a deeper level, and you have unlimited ability to give them information about their product and secure that sale even more, which is amazing, again, for the products that aren't as easy to explain, or maybe when you see them in a store, it's not as obvious what they're for. And the last thing is that you really are able to serve niche markets and target niche markets. With foot traffic, it's all about location. It's all about location. Who's passing by, and who in that town is maybe within that particular niche. But when you open up to the online space, it just opens up that niche so much more. And so if we're talking about pet products like we were before, you aren't just serving dog owners in Northern California. You're now serving dog owners across the United States and beyond. But as we have just talked, there's tons of benefits, but that doesn't necessarily mean that e-commerce is the right step for your business. There is a ton of different things that you need to go to make sure that you are making the right call, because I have seen people jump into e-commerce really excited without all the facts, and be underwhelmed by their performance. And so I just want to walk you through, okay, how are we going to make the decision of of whether or not we're actually going to go online with this thing? First step is so important. Check out your competitors. Check out your competitors, whether they are your local competitors, maybe competitors from other towns, just anyone within your industry that you know is online. And there are web services out there where you can actually go and get a rough estimate of what their web traffic is, from the small shops to the larger shops. And so this is just an example of one of those services and the kind of information you can see. So I use swimsuits as an example. So these are 3 different companies that are selling swimsuits online. And they are of varying degrees of a size. So Somersault is more popular. A lot more people know it. Courtney Jean is a little bit more boutique, and Shop Tan Lines is relatively small. But you can look right here and see the number of visits they're getting in any given month. So right here we see right away, Somersault's getting over 200,000 visits in any given month. And you can see right here, these are their unique visits. They're getting 135 unique people on their site every single month. And then if we look at even the smallest boutique swimsuit designer out there, these guys are still getting 9,000 views a month and 5,000 unique people going to their site. So that's the equivalent of, 5,000, 135,000 people walking into your store every month. So go and look at your competitors, see how well they're performing, see if people are showing up and visiting their site, see how long they're spending on their site. And there's two companies in particular that do a great job of this. One is Similar Web. They have a free trial that you can go and just do your little client or competitor research with, or SEMrush as well. But these are great places to go and just see if there's even a demand on the market, and if your competitors are seeing some foot traffic to their sites. This is a great way to make a decision as to whether or not this is great for your industry, whether it will work for your industry. And a lot of industries, I think, will be really surprised what they end up finding here. For example, a car part reseller that I work with, they didn't know if it would work, but they end up getting so much web traffic. And when they went and did their competitor research, they realized people are buying a lot of car parts online, especially people who are kind of in the racers niche. And so he targeted towards racers and chose his product based on them, knowing that they were showing up and buying these unique products online that they maybe couldn't find in their local shops. So another thing that you can do, aside from looking at your competitors, you also want to gauge customer interest. Find out what if they would be interested in ordering online, if that would be great for them, if they would love that, just ask them. They're in your store anyways. Make a habit of asking them, and especially your regulars, find out what they think. If you have an email list, send a survey and say, hey, customers, if we went online, would that be beneficial? And do a poll on your social media, right? Just find out. Ask them, because you might be surprised. I think when cake shops, for instance, started going online, I remember the day that my cousin ordered a cake that was delivered to us in the mail, and I thought that was absolutely insane. I'm like, there's no way, like, that's really cool, but I can't believe that you can order cakes online. But now that's a massive industry. It's becoming more and more popular for bakeries to be able to offer online options. And there's bakeries in New York City that are now shipping across the country and able to serve an even wider variety because they made that choice to go online. Now that's something that I don't know that I would have intrinsically thought, yeah, that'll work. Shipping a cake, that doesn't seem like something that would work yet, even though it was new. And they weren't sure, maybe their competitors weren't doing it. It was a new thing at one point, relatively recently, but they were able to gauge in customer interest and realize that actually people will, turns out, buy cakes online happily. Other thing you want to look at is looking at your global market. So the question you want to be asking is, are your products something that will sell globally, right? So, making sure that what you have to offer isn't something that is so specific to your local area and to your local industry. Now, by and large, that's probably not going to be the case. You're probably going to be fine on this front, but you want to make sure that there is a global market, and you want to check, like, go and do your research, just Google search the global market size of whatever your standout products are or your primary products are, and just see, what's out there, who's out there, what are people buying, and are they buying it on a larger scale than just your local market. The next thing that I really, really want to urge you on is these last 2 points. Now, these 2 points aren't your typical business advice. It's not competitor research. It's not asking your clients. It's just some general things that me being in the business for as long as I have and working with as many companies as I have, that I've just noticed become an issue with. So first off, do you have the bandwidth to invest in it? I think a lot of people go into e-commerce thinking that it is going to make money fast. And it's not. Your e-commerce, even if you have an established business, it's still a new business, and it's going to take some love and some care. And so if you're in the situation where you are just completely strapped for cash, now there's a little bit of a difference with COVID. Now things are luckily starting to open up. But, at the beginning of COVID, we had a lot of retailers rushing to get online. But you want to make sure that you actually are able to comfortably invest in it, and that you aren't needing that money necessarily to make rent the next month, right? If you are in a place financially where you need that e-commerce site to work or best, I really suggest putting money, back into your brick and mortar and getting that to a place where you can at least comfortably decide to invest in this, unless you are looking to completely pivot. But just making sure you have the bandwidth too. And then the other one that I see people get in trouble with all the time is making sure you actually have the time. That you actually have the time and resources to be filling those orders, shipping them out, but also that you have the time to invest in getting people onto your shop in the first place. The time and the energy and the money to invest in the marketing that it's going to take, because it really is a new business. And we'll go over some of that as well when we hit the caveats. We'll go into that a little bit deeper. So, and here we are, the caveats of e-commerce. There is a saying, if you build it, they will come. And of course, in the business world, we know that is not true. If they build it, they will not. If we build it, they will not come unless you tell them it exists. That's the general rule of marketing. You have to actually let people know it exists. And so this is something that I see clients fall into all the time. In fact, I have a client that's looking to go back on e-commerce. They were on e-commerce years ago and never had anybody on the store. And they're like, well, we think we want to try it again with everything that happened with COVID. We want to get online and make sure we have a presence online. But we didn't have anybody come to the store. And so I asked them, well, what were you doing to let your clients know that you were not online? And the answer was nothing. They just put a website up and assumed that people would start coming. And that's just not the case. You got to let them know, whether that's through consistent social media, whether it's through emailing your email list, whether it's through shouting from the rooftops or Google AdWords, or working on your SEO. You have to make sure you have to have a solid marketing plan in place. The other thing which I touched on is that this is not a create quick scheme. So again, if you are expecting to immediately, you will immediately start seeing some sales, assuming that you have a marketing plan that's geared towards getting people on the actual site. You will see sales, but it's going to take some time to make that really booming and get it to where it needs to go. It's going to take time to let people know that you're now online and that they're a place that you're a place that they can shop. It's going to take time to get those new customers that aren't in your local space, to get those global customers aware. It's going to take time and energy and resources, but it's a great investment if you have the time and ability to put into it. Now, the other thing I like to touch on, because there are so many options for DIYing your site out here. And I like to say, if it's ugly, they will leave. And that is statistically sound. 62% of users will leave a site if it's hard to navigate or not aesthetically pleasing. And so you really want to make sure when you're putting something up that you're putting your best foot forward. I like to say that your website or your e-commerce platform is really like your storefront window. You want it to look nice. You know, you don't want your brick and mortar to look dumpy and run down and like you don't know what's going on, right? You have a certain appeal, a certain curb appeal that you want that to have that entices people to want to come in. You don't have trash laying around everywhere. You keep it nice. So same thing with your e-commerce website. We want to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward, that it has some curb appeal, so to say, in the internet space, so that when people land on it, that it's somewhere that's inviting, that has a great user experience, so that they actually want to stay. And so we want to make sure that, you know, if we're DIYing, which there's tons of DIY options, that, you know, you can create something that's great with a lot of the stuff that's out there. But we just want to make sure that that is the best decision for us. And, you know, if you're, and then also if you're choosing to hire a designer, that we're hiring someone that has a track record, that does good work, that we've seen their work, yeah, now is not the time to skimp on our design, because again, that statistic doesn't lie. 62% of users do have pause and will leave your site if they are having a bad user experience. The other thing I like to note, this one isn't as big of a deal because customers are used to it. But for a brick and mortar going online, it can be a little bit of a scary question mark for them, and that is shipping costs. So of course, when you're going online and you're shipping the product direct to consumer, you have that additional shipping costs. Now, 9 times out of 10, that is passed on to the customer, and customers are certainly used to paying that. But you want to make sure that you run your numbers with whoever manages your finances, and make sure that you understand what that shipping cost could mean for your customers, and decide how you want to handle that. There's a number of ways you can handle shipping costs, whether you're weighing your items and charging costs by weight, or whether you decide to go a flat fee, or some stores will even decide to just mark up their prices and not charge shipping at all. And so definitely make sure that that is in consideration when you're thinking about your business plan for taking your business online. And the other thing I like to point out is that inventory integration is not always seamless. I see this all the time, especially with large boutiques with tons and tons of products and technology that is not even necessarily that old. You're going to want to do your research, because not all tech gets along. And so whatever e-commerce solution you decide to go with, or whatever POS you have, you know, thinking about something that is going to seamlessly integrate, that has something already in place. And you know, with older systems, unfortunately, there's not always a seamless integration. And so figuring out internally if that's going to make sense and what that's going to look like for managing inventory, so you don't accidentally sell something online that's also being sold in stores. So that's just something that you certainly want to think through and talk through before making the decision to go online, is making sure you have a solid plan in place as to how you're going to handle your inventory across platforms. All right, so we've hit on the benefits of e-commerce. We've hit on the caveats, the warning signals. So if you're in this place and you go and you do your client research, and maybe you already know, I know this is the next step for my business. I absolutely know it. I've seen other people in my industry thrive. My clients ask me all the time for a website or an online shopping option. Then how are we going to actually move forward with this? Well, here's your action steps. First step, of course, like I mentioned, we're going to research. the best thing you can do to set yourself up for success is to research your competitors, see what their websites look like, see who's getting the most click-through rates, see how, when you're researching your competitors, I would highly suggest looking at how much time is being spent on their websites. So if you have similar competitors with similar foot traffic coming into their websites, taking a look and saying, oh, look, this website has people staying on for 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds. As you know, 30 seconds isn't quite long enough to actually make a full purchase. And so that can be a good indicator of not only the fact that they're getting foot traffic, but a good indicator that they are actually making purchases. And so looking at those ones that are having really high time, users staying on their sites for a long time when you're doing that research, because that will also help you, like looking at their design, look at how their site's laid out, look at how their navigation is, and just make note of how they're doing things, because they likely have a really great user experience the higher the time is that users are spending on their site. You're also going to want to survey your existing customers. So as much as you can, social media, email, in person, call them up, do whatever you can to find out if this is, really something that they would like to see come from you. Action step number 2 is to get your marketing plan in place. So if you've made the decision, I want to get online, then like I said, if you build it, they will not come unless you tell them to come. And so we have to make sure that we have a solid marketing plan in place. We don't want to do this haphazardly. And so ask yourself, how are you going to drive traffic to your store? Is it Facebook ads? Is it Google ads? Is it just organic social media? Is it sending emails to your email list? Is it telling people in store? Is it giving discounts online to get more people to go to your actual online store? So like just ask yourself and make a plan about how you're actually going to drive traffic to that store. Another thing that you're going to ask is, how will you keep those e-commerce customers engaged? So the customers you do get, the people landing on your site, how are you going to keep them? Because you want them to return. You want them to keep coming back and to keep buying from you. And so that looks like things like capturing their emails, offering discounts from time to time, sending them consistent emails, keeping in their inbox, keeping consistent on social media, encouraging them through your site to follow you on social media. All of these different things to make sure that you have a plan in place to keep them engaged and keep them coming back and keep them keep your company in the back of their mind when they're thinking about shopping. All right, step 3 is let's decide what you're going to sell. Where you're going to sell. What you're going to sell is coming. Decide where you're going to sell. So are you going to put it on a marketplace? Amazon is a great option. A lot of people sell on eBay. Now, if it's a new product, Amazon more often than eBay, or Etsy is another one if you're a maker, or even Facebook Marketplace. More and more people are selling things directly on Facebook Marketplace. So decide, does it make more sense? Now, marketplaces, the caveat with them is that they do take a percentage out because they are virtually doing some marketing for you by putting you on their internal site where they're already getting traffic and then allowing people to search for your products. So there is some cost to those to be considered. Or are you going to sell on your own website? Now, you don't have the fees associated with the marketplace, but you do have some extra lifting to do with marketing. Now, I do want to express that you still have to market if you're on the marketplace. That looks a little bit different, like making sure you're optimized for their search engines and still driving people on social media, email lists, and all of those to your marketplace shops. But yeah, so you're just, making the decision, what's going to make the most sense for you, looking at your competitors, looking at doing your research for your industry, what's standard for your industry, and deciding what makes the most sense. And some people might decide both. And that's great. I have clients that have their very own websites and they also sell on Amazon, and they also sell on Etsy. I have clients that are everywhere, right? Getting the organic foot traffic from Etsy and Amazon and putting their personal marketing efforts into driving traffic to their website. So just making those initial plan of where exactly you're going to sell. And then after that, deciding which products you want to put online. Now, this is especially applicable to large retailers, not so much to smaller retailers who may have only a handful of products or product-based businesses. But if you're large retailers, like I work with boutiques all the time who have thousands and thousands of products in their store, and they get stressed out, worried about getting their stuff online because there's so many products and it can be extremely time consuming to get your initial products on your shop. And so I like to tell them to start small. You do not have to put your entire inventory online from the get-go. Just pick your best sellers. Pick maybe your top 50 items and throw them on there and start seeing how it's doing. And then you can push it live and continue to add products in the background while people are already shopping those first few products. All right, and step number 5, if you decide to go with a custom site, this is not applicable if you're just going to sell on Amazon and Etsy because you don't have to design those things out. But if you decide to go with your own custom site, then I encourage you to find a developer who can make sure your site has a great customer experience. So a proven developer who's done it before, that has experience in e-commerce, because that is massive. There are a lot of developers out there that have experience only in service-based businesses. And so like more informational websites, and they can build a great service-based business page, but the way users interact with e-commerce websites with actual shoppable sites with products on them is so very different from how they interact with a service-based company. And so you want to make sure that you hire someone that knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to building an online store. And I would highly suggest someone who's specialized in that. You also want to make sure that they make it mobile friendly. It's up to 60% of web traffic is coming from cell phones right now. And so you want to make sure when you get that design back that you are checking your mobile view and making sure that it is mobile ready for all of those people coming in through mobile. I also want to make sure that they're able to install the proper analytics so that you can track and either offer you analytic support from month to month, or at least teach you how to use those analytics and give you some verbiage on how to understand those, because those can be key in really understanding how your e-commerce site is performing. Now, if you want to DIY it, that is perfectly fine. There are a lot of templates and different things out there that you can make something really great for a really low dollar amount. And we happen to have a webinar coming up next Tuesday, June 6th. That's going to be on Shopify Basics. So launching your e-commerce website. So we're actually going to walk you through beginning to end, launching a Shopify site so that you can get yourself online and get yourself online in a way that looks really great without, jeopardizing, keeping the cost down without jeopardizing the functionality, and making sure that it's set up correctly and that you know what you're doing and know what the ins and outs are. So that is happening again next week, June 16th. We'll be walking through that. All right, so that is all we have for tonight. We are here to help at the SBDC. If you have absolutely any questions about taking your store online, if you need help at all deciding if that's the right step for you, or some advising on how to create that marketing plan around getting people to your online store, we are here to help. You can contact us if you're in the Redding, California area, or Shasta and Trinity counties, then you can contact us directly at the Shasta-Cascade SBDC. if you are outside of our area, then you can contact your SBDC office that's in your area. We have SBDCs all over the state and all over the country. And so your local SBDC would be more than happy to help walk you through what it could look like to get your brick and mortar online. So thank you so much for coming,
Megan.
for listening. Yes.
Megan, that is really wonderful. And I just want to thank you. Those 5 steps that you walk everyone through is so helpful. And when they watch this on a recording, they can pause the video and write down all those steps. And I particularly liked the importance when you talked about getting a developer and when to do it, and just to make sure, because that user experience, like you said, being mobile friendly is so important right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. I just wanted to compliment you.
No.
You wrapped up. It was a
You're
great
fine.
job.
You're fine. Thank you. Well, I guess that is all we have. So,
And just to remind people of that session you talked about on June 16th.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They can reach out to Emily at the SBDC,
Mm-hmm.
work on getting registered for that, or you can go to our website and look at the webinars that are coming up and register directly online.
Yes. Yes, you can.
All right. Thank you so much, Megan. This was really helpful, and I appreciate you walking us through it with such an organized fashion. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Anything else you want to conclude with, or shall we wrap up?
I think that's it. So yeah, just if you guys have any questions, if anybody watching has any questions, just please feel free to reach out to us and we can walk you through what this would look like for your specific business.
And just to let you know, here at the SBDC, when you are a client with us, meaning you live in either Shasta or Trinity counties, you can meet with an advisor like Megan. You can become a client with us. If you already are one, you can reach out to Emily and ask to get a meeting with Megan. If you saw this and you said, this is so wonderful, I really want to learn more in this area, there are a number of different advisors you can meet with on a variety of topics and have someone walk you through the exact issues that you're challenged with, have them advise you on what would be the next best steps for you. So you are not alone in this. We are here. And as Megan mentioned, there are SBDC locations all around the US. So if we can help you, please reach out to us. We're here. The advising sessions are at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already paid for that service. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at a future training session. Thank you. Bye, everybody.